Inside a dyslexia evaluation.
Okay, come on in, Zeke. Why don't you have a
Okay.
seat over here?
Okay.
How are you feeling today?
Good.
How do kids get evaluated for dyslexia? In this video, you'll get an inside look at an actual evaluation. Watch as Dr. Matthew Cruger, a psychologist in New York City, reevaluates Zeke, a second grader with dyslexia.
You're not hungry right now.
No.
No. And did you sleep okay last night?
Not really.
Are you feeling tired right now?
No.
No. So you'll be okay to do some of the stuff that we're going to do. In terms of school, can you tell me what subject do you like the best?
Recess.
Okay.
The tests you're about to see in this private clinic are similar to the ones used in public schools. Whether public or private, evaluations are conducted by trained specialists who ask questions that are designed to systematically find a child's weaknesses and strengths.
I want you to try your best, and I think some of the things you'll do, you'll find interesting. Some of them you might find to be just sort of boring tasks, but all of them are pretty short. So if you are working on something and you don't like it, you don't have to feel bad because it's going to be over pretty soon. They're just basically pretty quick tasks that we can work together to get done.
Okay.
Breaking down the tests. Oral language skills, blending and removing sounds.
Now I'm going to say parts of words, and I want you to tell me what words those sounds make, okay? Listen, lighter. What word is that?
Lighter.
Pencil.
Pencil.
Ice.
Dice.
Oast.
Most.
Now I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say the word after me, okay? Say matchbox.
Matchbox.
Now say matchbox without saying match.
Box.
Great. Say cupcake.
Cupcake.
Great. Now say cupcake without saying cake.
Cup.
That's right. Say joyful.
Joyful.
Now say joyful without saying full.
Joy.
That's right. Say spill.
Spill.
Now say spill without saying s.
Ill.
Most of us acquire language automatically, so we hear the sounds and words and we're able to play with those sounds and words and to communicate very effectively with others. Dyslexic students, or students who are headed for some reading problems, also show by observation that they can engage in conversation just the way most everybody else can. But when we look at these foundation skills, these phonological awareness skills, we notice that there are gaps in their capacity to do that easily and readily. And that does lead them, predisposes them to have some problems when they're looking at letters in print and having to associate a sound to those letters and then being able to sort of manipulate and play with those sounds.
Repeating nonsense words.
I'm going to say a nonsense word, and then I'm going to ask you to say what I said. Just repeat the word exactly the way I said it, okay? Are you ready? Say ub. Okay, good. Ix. Ix. Good. In the category of tests that I might give to a student that look at phonological awareness, nonsense word repetition is one of those tests. I want to look at their ability to hear all of the sounds in words. And so I start off with easier items, but I get to more complicated items like BC, Wallanoop, because I want to see if a student has a capacity to hear all of those sounds in words and to be able to sort of sequence them and blend them together effectively. Prebutterick. Prebutterick.
Pre-butterick.
Excellent job. BC Wallanoop. BC Wallanoop.
BC Wallanoop.
Excellent. Those are skill sets that are important for reading. The capacity to see that there are sounds in words and being able to carefully attend to them and play with those sounds and sort of putting them together to synthesize a word for reading. Squartulous.
Squirtulous.
Squartulous.
Squirtulous.
Excellent job. You did really good at hearing those sounds and making them sound right. Good. Okay.
Rhyming.
Do the words cup and pup rhyme?
Yes.
Do the words hit and height rhyme?
No.
Do the words pill and fill rhyme?
Yeah.
Do the words mush and soup rhyme?
Yes. Wait, no.
Okay. Do the words home and phone rhyme?
No. Wait. Yes.
Okay.
Wait, no. Sorry.
Okay, that's a tricky one, huh?
Sorry.
Home phone.
Home phone. No, they don't rhyme.
No, okay. Do the words hide and mine rhyme?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me a word that rhymes with monkey.
Tunky.
Tell me a word that rhymes with pride.
Tie.
And tell me a word that rhymes with nut.
Foot.
Good.
I don't know if that's a bad word, but I don't know if it's a good word
I've
either.
never heard that as a bad word, so maybe, I'm not sure.
Identifying the first and last sounds in words.
I want you to listen carefully to the words and tell me the two words that start with the same sound. Mark, bark, mud. Which two words have the same starting sound?
Wait, can you repeat it?
Of course. Mark, bark, mud.
Markham bark.
So I asked him to identify which words had the same beginning sound, like I might have said the word bun, bark, and cake. And I want to know that he can hear that bun and bark have the same initial sounds in words, and that they can discriminate that from the other words that they heard. Now I want you to know mark and bark are good rhyming words, but mark and mud actually both start with the M sound.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that would be the one that you would pick, okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right, now try this one. Bun, band, sun. Which two words start with the same sound?
Bun and ban.
Excellent. I'm really looking at a student's ability to show that they can identify the initial sounds in words and that they can then start to play with those words and sounds, so that they should be readily able to match the initial sounds in words, but they sometimes can be thrown off because words have irregular forms, or they might be rhyming words and are really not able to discriminate that particular fine skill. Now I want you to focus on ending sounds in words, and I want you to tell me which two words end with the same sound. Frog, pig, duck. Should I say them again?
All of them.
Listen again. Frog, pig, duck.
Oh, frog and pig.
Great. Wash, crush, catch.
Wait, what?
Wash, crush, catch.
Wash and crush.
Excellent.
Rapid naming.
I'm going to give you this page here, and before we start, I'm going to explain to you what to do. I want you to name the colors as quickly as you can, okay? Start here, go across the first row, and then keep on going one after the other. Okay, what color is this one?
Purple.
Purple, okay. Are you ready? I'm going to time you, so I want to have you go as quickly as you can.
Blue, purple, green, red, yellow, purple, blue, red, green, yellow, blue, red, purple, green, purple, yellow, red, blue, purple, yellow, blue, green, red.
Great job.
How many seconds?
15 seconds. What? It was excellent. Students who have dyslexia, many of them are going to have phonological problems. Many of those students also might have problems with the automatic retrieval of word labels. Their experience is often the sort of a tip of the tongue phenomenon. They know the word, they know that it's there, but they can't easily retrieve it. So they're often much slower on those tasks, and sometimes have errors in their capacity to retrieve words that they are very familiar with and know. Now I'm going to have you look at this page that has some objects on it, okay? Tell me what these objects are.
Cat, train, heart, house, tree.
Good. We want very simple objects that they should have the capacity to quickly recall and retrieve. Name these objects as quickly as you can, okay? Starting with the top row and going all the way to the end of the last row. Okay, are you ready? Let's go.
Cat, train, heart, house, tree, train, tree, cat, heart, house.
The
house,
students who
heart.
have great difficulty with rapidly retrieving those word labels are often headed for some fluency problems. They will look at a word in print that they've read several times and that they know very well, but they still have to go through the painstaking process of sounding it out because it just automatically doesn't come to mind.
Reading. Common words.
I want you to look at this page here that has words printed on it. And what I want you to do is start over here at the top and read the words across the rows, okay? Just read them one after the other for me.
At, on, if, cup, the dog, gill,
One of the tests I want to make sure I give them is a measure of just their capacity to read single words. I want to see how well they can read words in isolation, and I want to see how well they're able to use decoding strategies to deal with unfamiliar, real words. I also want to see just how many words they've accumulated. They're sort of sight words.
Candle.
Okay, good job. Keep going in this last row.
Different. Touch. Rhythm.
Great job.
Nonsense words.
Start here and read these words going across the rows.
Poi, fim, hapt, jewel, fram, when, gasp, gasp.
Okay. You did a good job.
Gasp or gasp.
I want to hear them read individual words, read nonsense words, because I want to look at those basic skills for identifying words and letters. I want them to be able to discriminate and carefully hear all of the sounds and words, and to have the capacity to sort of shift their utterances in line with those words. Okay, and read this last one.
Swex.
Excellent.
Fluency and comprehension.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to read a story to me. This is a story called Clothing, okay? I want you to start here and read the whole passage at your own pace, okay? You ready? Go ahead.
First, my top is what sung.
Okay. That's second. Okay, keep going.
Second, first my top is what. Second, my pants are down. I put them on muffle. I'm just gonna say muffle.
That's myself.
Myself, all by myself.
Okay, great. What did the child put on first?
His top.
Okay, good job. One of the other areas that's sort of a hallmark sign of learning disabilities, and in particular language-based learning disabilities, is a struggle with the automaticity of reading.
Wiles. Whales dive deep to look for food.
The word is, and the awareness of reading the word is in their head, but they can't easily get it out, and so they make errors along the way. It leads them to be slow in their efforts of reading, and we want to identify those weaknesses, and we describe them as problems with the fluency, because a student, when they're reading a longer passage, tends to read at a slower pace. It's much more effortful, and they're really struggling to call to mind words that they automatically know and recognize.
I would live right with in the woods and run from here to there.
Fluency is probably the area that is the most challenging, so that students who are remediated and learn to read can read and understand complicated texts, but we ask them to do it quickly. Many times those students are still struggling. The students who struggle with early reading also often are prone to demoralization. The evaluation can be hard for those students to engage in because it does feel like another opportunity to be confronted with their weaknesses. So I see a student like Zeke who's really struggling to stay involved at certain parts of the evaluation, so I know it's either time to take a break or time to end early. And I can recognize when I need to sort of bolster him and help him feel good about what he's doing to get through a difficult task.
Spelling.
Now I'm going to ask you to do some spelling, okay?
Oh.
I'm going to say a word, I'm going to use it in a sentence, and then I'm going to say the word again. Listen to the sentence so you'll know which word to write. So number one is Spell the word be. You should be the best you can be. Be. Number 2, and. I like chocolate and vanilla. And. I want to look at their capacity to spell words by dictation. And in that, I'm looking at their ability to show that they know how to produce letters that are letters and words that are familiar to them. But I'm also looking at their ability to spell words that are novel or new. Knight. The knight was mounted in armor. Knight. Okay, I'm going to do one more with you. Wrong. The answer is wrong, but yours, my answer is wrong, but yours is right. Wrong. Great. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Writing.
I want you to combine these two sentences. So this says, the brown dog is big, the dog barks. I want you to put those two sentences together to make one sentence that means the same thing. Okay, and write your answer here on the lines underneath them.
The brown dog is the dog big.
Well, it says the brown dog is big, the dog barks. Put those two sentences together.
The brown dog is big, the dog barks.
Okay, put them together in one sentence to mean the same thing.
The dog is big and the dog barks.
Excellent. Write your answer here. Often a student that I see might be fine to engage in conversation and communicate their ideas very well in that regard, but when they do a writing task, there's a breakdown in those capacities and they really struggle to reproduce sentences that are grammatically and syntactically correct. And so we see real struggles with writing capacities, another sign of potential weaknesses related to language-based learning.
Background knowledge.
Now I'm going to ask you to listen as I read you some questions, Zeke, and I want you to answer the questions. In what direction does the sun set?
I'm guessing right?
Okay. How many days are there in a week?
7.
What are the 3 colors on the flag of the United States of America?
I'm thinking. 3. Wait, no. 3, yeah.
What are the 3 colors?
Red, white, and blue.
Name a country in Europe. Okay, not sure. Okay, name a reptile.
Crocodile.
So there's several measures that I might give to a child to understand really their verbal intellectual capacity, their basic sense of information in the world. Students who have reading struggles may have struggles on that test on the hardest items because they're not really gathering quite as much information from reading text as another student who is a typical reader in their class.
Completing the evaluation.
When I complete an evaluation, I really want to look back at all of the information I've gathered. I work in a private setting, and the evaluations I do include the things that a public evaluation does. I do a social history with the family. I may do a classroom observation, and I'm going to measure intellectual functioning, academic skill sets, emotional functioning. My goal is to provide some answers to the family about what is the nature of the difficulties. I want to highlight areas of strength and weakness that a student has, because those are going to be important for directing a roadmap or a guideline for how to intervene successfully with a student. One of the most important things to think about in terms of students who have reading difficulties is that we do have tools and methods for helping them improve in their capacity. We really do want to emphasize that we can provide interventions to help these students learn to read. I met Zeke last year at the beginning of the school year. At the time that I saw Zeke, his deficits were certainly quite different than what you'd expect for a student of his intellectual capacity, and they were, he has at least moderate struggles with all of the foundation skills for early reading. At the end of the evaluation, I thought that Zeke needed a very intensive approach to treating and remediating his reading struggles. I feel very confident that the support that he's getting has been helpful for him. His fluency is still an area of weakness for him, but he's made a number of gains in reading. He certainly has acquired a stronger a base of words that he can recognize in print. He has strategies now for decoding words when he's looking at them in print that he didn't have before, to go back and keep on attacking words that are not making sense to him. Evaluations often can detect problems like dyslexia because they can measure that a child's intellectual capacity and their reading capacity are really quite different. My main goal is not necessarily to tell parents that their child meets a diagnosis of dyslexia. It's to help give them a path so that they can remedy those problems as much as possible and help a student really function at their best level.